My sister used me for 16 years to raise her kids, but when I finally walked away, she tried to destroy my life to pull me back. What would you do if the sister you sacrificed your entire youth for stood up at your engagement party and convinced your fiancé to leave you? 4 weeks ago, my entire world fell apart because of one speech. I'm still trying to make sense of how the girl I practically raised could betray me so completely. I'm a 35-year-old man. To explain how this all began, I need to go back in time. When I was 20, my parents died in a car accident. My sister Vanessa was only 18 then. We had no one left except our grandmother, who was in a nursing home battling dementia. I dropped out of college immediately to take care of Vanessa. She was still in high school and had nowhere else to go. We moved into a small one-bedroom apartment. I picked up a warehouse job, then another part-time gig at night to keep us afloat. For 3 long years, I worked myself into the ground so Vanessa could finish school and have a normal life. When she turned 18, she started dating a guy named Brandon. I didn't like him, he was reckless and immature, but she was in love. On her 20th birthday, she told me she was pregnant. Brandon disappeared the moment he found out. Vanessa cried for weeks, and I promised her we'd figure things out together. In 2011, my nephew Eric was born. I was there for his birth, and from day one I helped feed, change, and care for him. Vanessa struggled deeply as a single mom, disappearing for days at a time to hang out with her friends while I stayed home with the baby. I never complained. She was young, lost, and hurting. Then, 3 years later, it happened again. Vanessa got pregnant with another man, Jason, who also bilayed when he found out. That's how little Lily came into our lives. For years, I worked myself to exhaustion, juggling 2 or 3 jobs while raising those kids as if they were my own. I taught Eric how to ride a bike, helped Lily learn to read, packed lunches, braided hair, attended school events. Everything a father does, I did. Vanessa eventually pulled herself together and went to community college, later becoming a dental assistant. I thought things were finally turning around, but somehow I was still doing the lion's share of parenting. Fast forward to a couple of years ago, I got promoted to supervisor at a logistics firm and finally felt like I could focus on building my own life. That's when I met Regina, a 29-year-old accountant at the same company. She was smart, kind, funny, and she adored Eric and Lily from the moment she met them. After 18 months of dating, I proposed. We set the wedding for September, and Vanessa acted thrilled. She went dress shopping with Regina, helped with decorations. Everything seemed perfect. Around that same time, Vanessa started dating a man named Marcus. He was 36, divorced, no kids, worked in construction, and honestly, he seemed solid. The kids liked him too. But over time, Vanessa's attitude started changing. She began saying strange things, telling me it was time to live my own life and stop being a babysitter or making weird comments to Regina like, "You're such a saint for putting up with his baggage." I brushed it off at first. But then came the engagement party. It was a beautiful evening, around 40 close friends and family gathered at a nice restaurant. Vanessa had even helped organize it. Everything was going great until she stood up for her toast. At first, she thanked everyone for coming, then the tone shifted. She started talking about how much I'd given up for her and the kids, college, my 20s, relationships. She said I'd sacrificed everything to keep our family together. Then she turned to Regina. "I love my brother," she said, "but he spent his entire life putting others first. He'll never be able to put you before us, before me, or before my kids. You deserve someone who can give you all of himself, not just what's left after taking care of everyone else." The entire room went dead silent. Regina's face went pale. She stood up, grabbed her purse, and walked out. I chased after her, but she was already gone. When I went back inside, Vanessa was crying, saying she just wanted what was best for everyone. I told her she had no right to sabotage us like that. She swore she was only protecting me and Regina from a mistake. That night ended with half the guests leaving early. For days, Regina ignored my calls. When she finally agreed to talk, she told me Vanessa's words had gotten into her head. After 16 years of prioritizing Vanessa and her children, she didn't believe I could ever make my wife come first. She said she loved me, but she needed to think about her future, about whether she wanted to raise someone else's family for the rest of her life. 4 weeks later, she still hadn't called me back. Meanwhile, Vanessa's been calling nonstop, crying and apologizing, but still insisting she did the right thing. Eric and Lily keep asking where Regina went. I can't even look at Vanessa right now. I don't know if she's just selfish or truly convinced she was helping. Either way, that one toast destroyed everything. She admitted everything. Since I posted about my sister ruining my engagement, things have gone from bad to worse. Regina called me 2 weeks later to end things for good. She said Vanessa's speech had forced her to face what she'd been ignoring, that our relationship had always revolved around my sister and her kids. She said she'd realized she'd never come first, and she didn't want a lifetime of second place. I begged her to reconsider. I told her I'd set new boundaries with Vanessa and that our future would come first. Regina cried and said she believed I meant it, but the damage was already done. She gave me back the ring, saying she still loved me but couldn't marry someone whose life was built around other people's needs. That moment broke me. A week later, I decided to confront Vanessa. I went to her house one Saturday while Marcus was out. She was making breakfast for the kids when I asked her to talk privately. We stepped outside and I asked her point blank why she did it. At first, she stuck to the same story that she was trying to protect me. But I kept pressing until she finally admitted the truth. She panicked when she found out I was getting married. She was terrified of being on her own with the kids. She said she'd gotten so used to having me around for money, babysitting, help, that she didn't know how to function without me. Marcus, she said, wasn't ready to handle all that responsibility. Then she said the thing that broke me all over again. I know it was selfish, she said, but I just couldn't let you go. You're the only stable thing in our lives. I thought if I could make Regina back off, everything could go back to the way it was. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own sister intentionally blew up my engagement to keep me trapped as her built-in caretaker. When I told her I needed time to think and distance myself, she exploded, accusing me of abandoning her kids and being selfish for putting myself first. I told her I loved Eric and Lily, but I needed space. She refused to hear it. You promised 16 years ago you'd always be there for them, she screamed. Then she called me a horrible person and said the kids would never forgive me for walking away. I haven't spoken to Vanessa since that day. Eric's been texting me, asking why I don't come around. Vanessa apparently told them I'm too busy with my own problems. Last week, Lily called crying, asking if I was mad at her. I tried to reassure her without dragging Vanessa through the mud, but it's killing me. Now Vanessa's telling our extended family that I abandoned them after all these years. One cousin even called to tell me off, saying I was heartless for leaving her to struggle. And to make things even worse, Marcus is starting to see the truth. Vanessa told him she'd rather have me around than depend on him, and now he's questioning their relationship entirely. She even asked me to talk to Marcus and explain what she really meant. I told her no. The irony is her manipulation didn't just cost me my engagement, it's now destroying her own relationship too. I don't know what's next. But I do know one thing, I'm done being her safety net. After everything I gave up for her, my 20s, my education, my future, I finally see that the only person who trapped me in that life was my sister. And the one toast she thought would save her family ended up tearing all of it apart. The fallout from everything is finally catching up to my sister. It seems Vanessa might end up losing both Marcus and me for good. The kids are confused and hurting, and I keep wondering whether pulling away makes me heartless, or if it's the first truly right decision I've made in years. The kids deserve the truth. After my last post, a lot of people suggested I should be honest with Eric and Lily about why I haven't been around. I decided they deserved at least some truth, not the whole ugly story, but enough to understand. One afternoon, I met them at a park near their school. I told them that I needed some space from their mom to figure out adult problems, that we'd had a disagreement, and it wasn't about them. I made sure they both knew I still loved them deeply and would always be in their lives. Lily, ever the straightforward one, asked if I was leaving them for good. Eric wanted to know if it was because he was getting older and didn't need me anymore. Seeing their faces full of confusion nearly broke me, but I promised them I'd never stop being their uncle, no matter what happened. Still, I was honest. I couldn't keep doing everything like before, school runs, homework, appointments, all of it. They were old enough to understand that adults have to make hard choices sometimes. Eric, now 15, seemed to grasp it better than Lily. After Marcus left, Eric began to notice how much his mom was struggling. And yes, Marcus did end things, around 7 weeks after my last post. He told Vanessa straight up that he couldn't be with someone who depended so heavily on her brother. When he left, Vanessa was shattered. She called me crying, begging me to help her talk him into coming back. I told her no, that she needed to handle her relationships on her own. But then she did something I couldn't ignore. She started using the kids to manipulate me. Suddenly, Eric or Lily would call for every little thing. If Lily couldn't figure out her math homework, Vanessa would tell her to call Uncle. If Eric didn't want to go to practice, he'd say his mom told him to check with me. It became clear that Vanessa was conditioning them to rely on me again, using them to drag me back in. So I confronted her. I told her flat out that she was dragging the kids into issues that were between us. She insisted she wasn't, that the kids just naturally came to me because they trusted me more. I pointed out the obvious. She'd spent years depending on me to fix everything, and now she was teaching her kids to do the same. That set her off. She accused me of calling her a bad mother. I told her I wasn't, just that it wasn't healthy for them to see her fall apart every time life got hard. Vanessa yelled that families help each other, that I was being dramatic and heartless for cutting her off. And then came something unexpected. Mrs. Alvarez, the elderly neighbor who lives next door to Vanessa, came by my apartment one evening. She told me she'd been watching this dynamic for years, and she needed to get something off her chest. According to her, Vanessa constantly complained about how hard it was being a single mom, and how she wished she could have her old life back. She'd apparently tell neighbors she was so lucky to have me doing all the hard parts for her. Mrs. Alvarez said Vanessa often painted herself as a struggling single mother doing everything alone, conveniently leaving out that I was the one footing most of the bills and raising the kids. That conversation hit me like a truck. Vanessa had been playing the victim for years, taking sympathy for sacrifices she never actually made, while I broke my back holding everything together. That's when I realized things had to change permanently. I wrote Vanessa a letter, calm, direct, and final. I told her I'd always love Eric and Lily, and would see them once a month for quality time, just like before, but I wouldn't go back to being their default parent. I told her to take full responsibility for her own household, and that if she couldn't handle it, she should reach out for real help, counseling, family services, whatever it took. A few days later, Vanessa showed up at my apartment with Eric and Lily in tow. She said they missed me, that they wanted to spend time together. I spent a nice afternoon with them, but when I told Vanessa she needed to call first next time, she exploded. She screamed that I was treating her like a stranger. She said she'd already apologized for the engagement party and didn't understand why I was still so cold. I told her that an apology wasn't enough. When someone deliberately sabotages your happiness just to keep you tied to their life, sorry doesn't rebuild trust. Actions do. Since that day, Vanessa has been telling everyone in the family that I abandoned her and the kids for my own selfish reasons. She's playing the victim again, the poor single mom whose ungrateful brother chose himself over family. But honestly, I don't care anymore. I'm done carrying her guilt and my own in the same breath. Freedom at a cost. It's been a few months now, and this will probably be my last update. Vanessa and I barely talk anymore. She tried one last desperate stunt, showing up at my workplace. In front of my coworkers and my boss, she started crying and yelling about how I'd abandoned her and the kids. She said Eric was failing school, Lily was acting out, and that they needed me. It was humiliating. My supervisor had to pull me aside afterward to make sure everything was okay at home. Thankfully, he was understanding. But he also made it clear that I couldn't let my personal drama spill into work again. That night, I called Vanessa and told her point blank that if she ever pulled something like that again, I'd report her for harassment. She said she was desperate, that she didn't know what else to do. She admitted Eric was falling behind in math, and Lily had been mouthing off to teachers. I told her calmly that those were normal parenting challenges, and that millions of single parents deal with them every day without a brother to bail them out. I suggested tutoring programs, school counseling, and even local parenting support groups. She said she couldn't afford them, didn't have the time, and that everything was easier when you handled it. That's when it hit me. She never actually learned how to parent. She never had to because I always stepped in. So I made her one final offer. I'd keep seeing Eric and Lily twice a month and take them on a short trip during the summer. But everything else, school, discipline, appointments, was her job from now on. If she couldn't respect that boundary, I'd have to cut contact entirely. Vanessa said it wasn't enough. She claimed the kids needed more stability, that I was being selfish, and even asked, "What if something happens to me? Who will take care of them?" And that's when I told her the truth. That's the problem. They've relied on me so much they don't know how to stand on their own. None of this is healthy. Vanessa said I was punishing her kids for her mistakes. She said a real man wouldn't turn his back on children who didn't ask for any of this. I walked away. That was the last real conversation we had. It's been about 3 months now. Sometimes Eric texts me. We keep it light, movies, sports, random stuff. I don't talk much with Lily anymore. When she calls, it's clear Vanessa's coaching her on what to say. Mrs. Alvarez told me Vanessa's been struggling. Eric quit baseball and his grades dropped. Lily's acting out more in class. Vanessa had to take time off work to deal with meetings at their school. Apparently, she's still telling people I abandoned them, painting herself as the tragic single mother left to fend for herself. But Mrs. Alvarez also said something that surprised me. Eric told one of his friends that he understands why I had to step away, and that his mom needs to get her own life together. That kid is growing up faster than he should, but at least he's seeing the truth. As for me, I'm doing better. I got a small promotion, started taking online classes, and have even gone on a few casual dates. I'm learning how to have a life outside of constant crisis mode. Sometimes I still question whether walking away was the right move. Eric and Lily didn't cause this mess, and they're the ones paying the emotional price. But I also know that if I hadn't stopped the cycle, it would have destroyed all of us, them included. Vanessa had 16 years to learn independence, and she chose not to. She liked the comfort of knowing I'd always clean up the mess. And when I finally tried to live my own life, she sabotaged it out of fear. I used to think she did it out of love. Now I know it was dependency disguised as devotion. When she was young and scared, I stepped up, and I don't regret that. But I do regret never teaching her to stand on her own. Now we both have to live with the consequences of that. For her, it's learning to parent without a safety net. For me, it's accepting that loving someone doesn't mean losing yourself for them. It's not a happy ending, but it's the only one that lets me finally move forward, free from the wreckage of my sister's choices. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to leave a comment, hit subscribe, follow for more, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss the next one.